where were you Saturday? I guess you were asleep Saturday night when the
I was
news
asleep.
hit. So when you woke up
Yeah, I was asleep.
Sunday and you had to rush to soccer practice, were you scrolling on your phone and kind of just checking up on everything? Because
Well, yeah, through the ski group. I got the WhatsApp messages
hmm hmm
of, "Oh, were you there?
Yeah,
Oh, were
right.
you
Were
not
any of your
there?"
friends there?
No, they actually weren't. They weren't.
Okay, thank God.
Which was the very first question was like, "Did you guys boycott this?" And they're like, and nobody answered that question, but
Right,
they were like, "Yeah, they weren't there." And then I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, really? Again?"
right.
I just kind of like I rolled my eyes, and I was like, "Again?
Totally.
Like, why? Why?"
I don't know.
Why are we doing this?
I don't
How did
know.
we get here? And then I answered all those questions in my head. And I was like, I was like, well, I do know how we got here, but like, it was just like, again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, let me just state a couple facts. I'm not going to like read the manifesto or anything. I think that is insane
Sure.
and doesn't make any sense, but I don't know. CBS editorial thinks it makes sense. So I guess somebody's reading the manifesto on live TV. But there was a man who basically bum rushed the security checkpoint at the White House
Yep.
Correspondents' Dinner. Uh I'll say his age. He was 31 from California. He had a shotgun, a semi-auto handgun, multiple knives, clearly plotting some kind of assassination of some sort. I mean, every
Yep.
single important person was in this room. The
Right.
entire, like all of the press who would ever cover anything related to the White House was here. Yeah, there were some people that were boycotting, but generally, it's interesting to Trump so often pits himself against this group of people. So it's interesting when they're on the same side, and especially Trump's press conference afterwards. There was a press conference at the White House after he was
Yep.
safe. Everybody was safe. Nobody was really harmed except there was one Secret Service agent who was shot but saved by his vest.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then the man was detained. But afterwards, it was actually like very lighthearted. Donald was joking and kind of laughing with the press corps, and it felt like a very even tone down, and we were really kind of bringing the temperature down, and I was pretty happy with how that went. Now, the next day on 60 Minutes was a little bit different, but in the moment, everybody was kind of on the same
Mm.
side. Look, we say this every single time. Political violence is objectively there's no qualifications. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
Right.
Always. There's no grievance. There's no policy. There's no rhetoric from anybody that ever justifies any ounce of political violence at all. We say it every time. We'll say it again. But I did feel like this time felt a little bit different because everyone shared the same experience, which is a weird thing to say. It's a
Mm.
terrible experience, but the press
Yeah.
and the president both shared something together. It was, traumatic in a lot of ways. But
Hmm.
I hope that we feel a little bit lighter after the third assassination attempt on the president, which is he's getting up there in numbers. Like that's really bad. I think Reagan might have had two assassination attempts, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just trying to think of other presidents
Yeah.
who are trying to match the numbers. It's actually we're now reaching historical highs, which is really awful. But it's a tough situation to grapple with. There are now conversations about security flaws and
Yep.
should we have
How
had it
weak
at
it
the
was,
hotel? The ballroom comes up again, of course. All of this, I don't
naturally.
think matters too much. I thank Secret Service and everybody who tries to secure a large public location like a hotel where there are people staying who aren't attending the event. I think that's an
Right.
impossible job, and not that they shouldn't kind of figure out what went wrong, but I don't really, there's no one to blame here except the person who is
No.
trying to bring about political violence. And I think
Exactly.
that's most important. And I think it's also really sad just for the young people out there. Donald Trump made a joke that, if Marco Rubio told him that there was so much violence, he might not have taken the job or something like that. And he's funny. It's funny. I wish I heard him kind of say it. I think I just read it, but it's
Right.
also true because that's what young people think. Like if they genuinely want to jump into politics, they want to make a difference, they want to actually change the world for the better, they might think twice about that because there's so much political
Mm.
violence. So no matter if you think one way or the other, political violence does prevent genuine people from making genuine differences in the world. So that's let's just clear that up. I mean, we're a prediction market podcast, but it's really important to be clear about that stuff. And let's go back to the prediction markets. Garth, you mentioned this. You said you met a cancer surgeon and you're just a prediction market guy making the world worse. I want
Yeah.
I want to harp on I want to harp on prediction markets making the world worse. Every single like kind of bad thing that happens, and we're in politics, so if we're 1 degree away from politics and something bad happens, it's easy to blame prediction markets. Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, went on to Real Time with Bill Maher and talked about how he could bet against himself and throw the race, essentially, not attend campaign rallies and get into office and strip naked. I don't know. He said a bunch of ridiculous things, but he said, and I could walk away
Right.
with $4 million. That was his pitch. Now, Bill thought that was ridiculous because, frankly, $4 million is probably he'd want to make a little bit more to like throw the governor's race, right? But as Ted
You would think.
DiBiase says, the late great $1 million man, everybody has a price, right? So maybe the price isn't 4 million, maybe it's 10 million, maybe it's 100 million. But the point is, PredictIt has individual caps. And I know this sounds like a shill, like a sell for PredictIt, but the caps actually mean something, and they do something important, which is they prevent bad actors from having
Yep.
terrible motivations and putting money behind bad things that happen, right? It prevents these bad motivations and it puts a
Right.
cap on the price. No, who is going to, murder or cheat or lie or give away government or company secrets for $3,500? I mean, the PredictIt cap is $3,500 in a market. You can make, I guess, more than that if you put it on something that's 5 cents or 10 cents. But essentially, we're working in 5 figures mostly for an
Yep.
individual
For
position.
the most part.
And caps are preventing bad actors from not only, doing terrible things and, putting their career or their reputation on the line for 5 figures, but they're also preventing bad actors from drowning out signals as well. So from a research
Yeah.
perspective, what is the accurate price, what is the accurate probability here, caps are preventing those large whales from swaying the market in their favor because they want to be able to tout a certain probability. So caps will work in multiple different ways. And just frankly, it will protect the academic and research mission of PredictIt, which is what is the probability that X will happen? That's the goal. We're trying to use
Yep.
crowds and multiple people to figure out exactly what something is worth, how much is worth our attention, our time, our conversation. And I don't know, you've been at PredictIt longer. Anything else to add on why caps are
Well,
so important to us?
I mean, caps are important. I mean, it comes down to, predicted is different because of what we offer from a market perspective, what we're trying to measure, where we're trying to go with that, and the type of trader we're trying to, have come to us. I mean, Polymarket has gotten a lot of press recently, and Kalshi has gotten a lot of press recently, and they've been kind of jammed together as if they are one uniform entity. And with Polymarket's majority of their stuff is offshore,
Mm-hmm.
and the markets that are getting so much press are not markets that would ever end up on PredictIt.
No.
And I think that they should get the attention that they're getting right now because of what a bad look it is to be running such markets, to have such I mean, a libertarian view is great and wonderful, but there's got to be some limits. There's got to be some caps on what we put up, what questions we're asking, what information we want. And I think a lot of what Polymarket and Kalshi are doing right now is they're throwing the word betting out there. They're doing such a negative disservice to what PredictIt did before they showed up, and on such a big scale that there is no way that they're going to be able to monitor it properly. And even somebody like Kalshi, who is, is CFTC
Hmm.
regulated, you know, you can't put up 30,000 markets and expect to catch every single insider trading,
Right.
scheme or person or any of these types of things. And I think that very clear designation of what PredictIt is and what PredictIt offers is really, really important in this conversation and where the conversation is going right now. I mean, it's getting huge coverage, and for whatever reason, PredictIt is currently being cut out of that conversation. And it's important to remind the public of why we exist and what we offer.
Yeah, completely agree. And with the Polymarket side of things, there was a charge on it was a commander,
Service
service
member.
member who
Yep.
basically divulged classified information on our operation in Venezuela. And I was reading a little bit more into the details. It's interesting because he used an email that was linked to his name personally in his Polymarket account and kind of tried to swap it
Right.
out last minute and change the email that was attached. That actually seems like the main reason why that person was caught. But
Yeah.
it seems like on the off-chain stuff, and I'm not an expert on crypto,
Right.
on blockchain technology, but it does seem like he actually made a mistake. And if he didn't make that mistake, I don't know if we would have caught that insider. So that's why we advocate for caps, because if there aren't caps on market positions, it does seem to be more of the Wild West, and it's much, much harder to tamp down
Yeah.
on certain actions and activities and people. But it's really important that we emphasize we believe in the true textbook definition of a prediction market. We want to know what the probability of an event happening is so that
Yep.
everyone can make more informed decisions. That's the
Right.
goal of a prediction market. And we do think
Right.
caps bring us closer to that true vision. And yeah, I think we can leave the conversation there, but I needed to discuss our caps because the more crazy things that happen in the world, the more that
Yep.
prediction markets will easily be thrown under the bus.
Oh,
And
easily.
we need
Big
to kind of
time.
differentiate ourselves
Big
in
time.
some way. And our caps really do differentiate ourselves from the competition. So
Yep.
let's move on to something more fun and something very predicted. We got news that Tom Tillis was now flipped on the Fed chair confirmation. Janine Pirro dropped. Can you? I'm sorry. When I say Janine Pirro like dropped the charges of the DOJ, like it just sounds like a joke from 2018 or something, right? It doesn't sound
It
real,
does.
but that's okay. Janine Pirro announced that the DOJ was dropping charges on Jerome Powell and the Fed. There were charges about the reconstruction of the Fed building, whatever.
Yeah.
Janine Pirro dropped the charges.
Mostly comments on that Powell made during his Senate hearing, and that they didn't match up, and we were going to probe that. And so she's dropping the probe for now, but the inspector will continue to probe what's going on. So it's been dropped, but it kind of technically hasn't been, fully dropped.
Right, because they could
Uh,
bring it back, is your point,
they could
right?
bring it
Like
back.
there's
They could bring
no
it back.
double
Yeah.
jeopardy in terms of DOJ investigations, but I guess Tom
The
Tillis, it was
district
enough
attorney.
for Tom Tillis to say
Yeah.
we can move
Well,
forward.
he went out of his way to say, like, DOJ, I need some assurances here. So he got the assurances that he needs to move forward, to move this past the blockade that he was currently putting up
The
in
blockade,
the Senate.
the
The
lots of
blockade.
blockades going on these days.
There are.
Thank God. I mean, that's politicians who are not running for re-election. They have massive power. It's ironic,
Big
but
time.
it's very impressive, actually. I think uh, some more politicians should actually take advantage of that. Unfortunately, we had another representative, Democrat, who I think was 80 that passed away last week. So,
Yep.
less of that and more of using your retirement as leverage, I think makes more sense, but that's okay. We can just move on there. I want to kind of nail down the whip count here and try to figure out how many votes are going to confirm Kevin Warsh's Fed chair by May 30th. Right now, we see 51 or fewer is at 18 cents, 52 or 53 is around 69 cents, and then we see 54 or 55 at 40 cents. There's kind of limited volume here, so it's kind of hard to get an exact number. But I wanted to go through the watch list on the GOP side. I mean, first of all, we expect Fetterman to vote with the GOP as he has for lots of different confirmations and what I would call more low stakes things. He usually flips to the other side. Usually he'll trade with Rand Paul. Always a fun little trade. Rand Paul for Fetterman. Always a wild card. Very much voting on his own. Speaking of libertarianism, libertarian ideals. And honestly, a libertarian, I think, is very anti the Fed. If I understand the whole libertarian ideals thing, I think most libertarians would be not happy about the Fed, which is ironic because it's an independent agency, but it's also controlling monetary policy. It's very interesting. Mm-hmm. The question is, we have most locked in no's on the Democratic side. Is there anybody else that might flip over to the yes side? I'm looking at, let's see, maybe John Ossoff running for re-election. Let's see, Maggie Hassan, New Hampshire, Catherine Cortez Mastro from Nevada, Mark Warner from Virginia. Anybody that sounds like they might flip on Kevin Warsh?
I think at this point, I mean, Warsh in general has bipartisan support. But I feel like with the DOJ probe into Fed independence, probe effectively, and Tillis now unlocking things, I feel like this is just going to go one of those like party line type confirmations. Yeah. What you would normally see, the 60 to 70 or more votes in the Senate for a Fed chair, like with Powell. I don't think it'll really happen here just as a kind of like a spite to Trump. Yeah. I mean, not that Trump will care as long as he gets his guy and gets his guy before May 15th and he has to spend less time thinking about Powell because Powell's living rent free in Trump's head at the moment. I don't know. I don't see the bipartisanship. I think that you'll see the trade, the Paul Fetterman trade, as you suggested. Mm-hmm. Maybe Tina Smith. Maybe Tina Smith in Minnesota. That's probably, maybe.
So, that's going to get us either 53 or 54. Right now,
that feels right.
You can buy a few shares. I mean, most of the shares on 52 or 53 are going for 89 cents. So the question is, could you buy up a certain amount of shares on 54 or 55 and make a little bit of money? There's a few kind of low-hanging fruit, but not too much there. I think you'd want to wait until there's enough clarity on one contract or the other to get in on each of them. But they are both interesting. It's funny. Sometimes I would love if we could like redo the contract structure a little bit. Like you almost want it to just be over under 53.5 at some point. Like let's just kind of make it a little bit more simple. But obviously our markets team has to kind of guess from the beginning and doesn't know at all how this will shake out. So it's always tough. But it's good to entertain a few other flips. I mean, do we mention Murkowski could always flip, same as Susan Collins. Those are very easy potential flips. I just would see more on the Democratic side flipping to yes. I think Kevin Warsh was generally pretty impressive in the confirmation hearing from what I saw. So
he's a former Fed governor, so it's not like he hasn't been through the process. I mean, he's rich for Fed chair standards. But, when you look at the news headlines coming out of the hearing, all we really talked about were DOJ probe into Powell and, what was the other thing? It was how much money he made.
Yeah.
And Warren went after him, which
divesting and stuff, right? I think that was the conversation.
Yeah. and really just like, let's get Powell, let's find a successor so that we have Fed independence. Like that's, the headlines weren't really like, oh, he said this, therefore
Right.
this means that.
Or
Right? It
that
wasn't
he's
going into
not
like,
qualified. I mean, he's very
well, he's not qualified.
qualified. That's not the
Yeah.
issue either. So that's why I would land
Yeah.
actually probably closer to 54 or 55, because at the end of the day, especially if you're running for re-election, if you're a few of these Democrats that might be up, I mean, I'm looking down the line, not too many here that are running for re-election, but
Right.
if you are somebody who's trying to show that they are mostly bipartisan, this is an easy vote to flip on that you could really
I agree.
stand up and say, yeah, obviously I voted yes. The DOJ dropped the probe. Kevin Warsh is very qualified, and you kind of move on. But the Democrats have been very tightly whipped in the Trump 2.0 administration. I think
Yeah.
they've been actually very impressively cohesive, and I guess that happens when you're in the minority. It's easier to kind of stick together.
It's easier.
It is.
Well, you kind of have to stick together, right? I mean, otherwise, you're just letting the other team have a field day on you. I mean, it's like, but you're right. They've been really tightly whipped, and I think that's going to continue here. And I think all of the attacks on the Fed chair, maybe they don't touch this with a 10-foot pole type thing scenario plays out, and yeah, you get a lower number than you would normally see in a more normal political environment.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Garth, thank you so much for hopping on, discussing everything under the sun with me. Let's just reiterate really quickly again. We condemn all forms of political violence. It is wrong.
Yep.
And let's go out on that. Please, thank you for listening, everybody. Please subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/@PredictItOfficial. Follow on X @PredictItPod. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. Thanks for listening.